Love, a topic that we all have experienced at least once, but do you really understand it? Why are some relationships strong, while others are easily broken? You finally did it, you sent the first message. Maybe it was a casual hey, maybe something thoughtful or flirty. But while you're sitting there wondering if he'll reply, he's having a whole internal dialogue you can't hear. Because when a woman takes that bold first step, it doesn't just land in his inbox, it lands in his psyche. And what happens next reveals more about him than you might expect. So what exactly runs through a man's mind when you break the silence first? Let's dive into the thoughts he probably won't admit out loud. Welcome to the channel, Sophia's Knowledge, and my name is Sophia. This is where you will find valuable lessons and secrets to help you build a truly lasting love. In today's video, Sophia will explore with you 7 things men think when you text first. Don't miss out on advice that can change the way you perceive and live in love. You will definitely feel more comfortable when you find a quiet place and put on your headphones. Let yourself relax and be ready to receive the positive messages in today's video. Are you ready to embark on this journey with Sophia? Let's get started together. Number 1. She might like me. What men really think when you text first. When a woman takes the initiative to text a man first, it may seem like a small gesture on the surface. But in the male mind, this single act can trigger a cascade of thoughts, assumptions, and emotional responses. One of the first and most instinctive reactions is simple but powerful: she might like me. For many men, that possibility alone changes everything. Why that first message means more than you think. In the world of dating, men are often expected to take the lead. Society conditions them to initiate, pursue, and win over the person they're interested in. So when the roles reverse, when a woman reaches out first, it challenges that unspoken script in a way that feels both refreshing and validating. To a man, your message isn't just a casual hey. It's a signal. It tells him that you're thinking about him. That you made a conscious choice to connect. That he is, in that moment, wanted. And for many men, who rarely receive that kind of direct affirmation from women, it speaks volumes. The male ego, craving affirmation without asking for it. Here's a truth most men won't admit out loud: they want to be desired just as much as women do. The difference is, they're often expected to suppress that need. A man who says, "I just want to feel wanted," risks being seen as weak, needy, or insecure. So instead, he silently hopes that the person he's interested in will show some kind of interest back, preferably without him having to ask for it. That's why when you text first, it taps directly into a deep emotional need that he may not even fully understand himself. It tells him, you matter enough for me to reach out. And if he already has feelings for you, that message will hit him in ways that words alone can't express. The inner dialogue: wait. Is she into me? After that initial jolt of surprise, curiosity sets in. He starts analyzing your message. Was it casual? Was it flirty? Is this something she does with everyone, or is he special? Should he read between the lines or just take it at face value? Even if your message is something as simple as "Hey, how's your day?" don't underestimate how deeply he might read into it. Men may not always seem like overthinkers, but when it comes to attraction and dating, many of them overanalyze just as much as women do. They're just quieter about it. In his mind, your message becomes a kind of puzzle. A clue. And suddenly, he's no longer just responding to your text, he's trying to decode your intentions. Confidence boost or emotional armor? For some men, your text is a confidence boost. It gives them a reason to smile, a little push to believe they're worth pursuing, and a reason to respond with warmth. But for others, especially those who've been hurt, ghosted, or played in the past, it triggers a different response. Instead of thinking she likes me, they may think, what does she want? Or this feels too good to be true. This doesn't necessarily reflect their feelings about you, but more so their past experiences. Still, even when skepticism is present, a part of them will wonder, what if she really does like me? And that wondering is powerful. It opens a door. The hidden impact: you shift the power dynamic. When you text first, you subtly shift the dynamic. You remove the pressure from him to always be the initiator. You show that you're willing to meet him halfway. And whether he realizes it consciously or not, it often makes him feel safer to show interest in return. Suddenly, it's not a game of who cares less. It's a potential connection. A real one. Of course, not every man will respond with the maturity or appreciation this act deserves. Some may take it for granted. Some may not know how to handle it. But the right man, the one who values authenticity, will notice. And he'll remember that you were the one who reached out first. In the end, it's not about the text. It's about what it represents. To him, it's a possibility. A spark. A sign that maybe, just maybe, he's not the only one feeling something. So the next time you wonder if texting first makes you look too eager, remember this: to the right guy, it won't make you seem desperate. It'll make you stand out. It'll make him pause and think, she might like me, and that thought alone could change everything. What do you think about this? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. I look forward to hearing from you and discussing further. Don't forget to like if you find this content useful and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future posts. Thank you very much. Let's continue together. Number 2. She's confident, and I like that. When a woman takes the first step and initiates a conversation, she doesn't just catch a man's attention, she earns his respect. Beneath the surface of his surprise or curiosity lies a deeper, more enduring impression: she's confident. And for many men, that's magnetic. Confidence in a woman doesn't need to be loud or performative. It can be as subtle as pressing send on that first message. But make no mistake, it speaks volumes. The unspoken appeal of confidence. Confidence is one of those qualities that doesn't need to announce itself. It shows up in the way someone carries themselves, the way they speak, and yes, the way they initiate. When a woman reaches out first, it breaks the mold of traditional gender dynamics. And that disruption doesn't go unnoticed. To the modern man, a confident woman is refreshing. She doesn't wait for permission to connect. She knows what she wants, and she's not afraid to express it. That kind of energy doesn't just draw him in, it challenges him to rise to her level. In a world where dating often feels like a game of hesitation and second-guessing, confidence is clarity. It eliminates confusion. And clarity, especially in the early stages of attraction, is incredibly powerful. Confidence versus desperation: men can tell the difference. Some women hold back from texting first out of fear they'll come off as desperate or needy. But here's the truth: confidence and desperation are two completely different energies, and most men can tell them apart instantly. Desperation seeks validation. Confidence already has it. When you text him because you genuinely want to connect, not because you're anxiously waiting for a reply or trying to force an outcome, it shows. Your message says, "I'm here, I'm interested, but I'm not chasing." That kind of poise is rare. And deeply attractive. Men don't need you to be perfect. But they do notice when you're grounded in yourself. A confident woman doesn't need to control the outcome. She's okay with taking a risk because she knows her worth doesn't depend on his response. What confidence signals to a man? To many men, a confident woman sends multiple signals at once. She's emotionally mature. She doesn't play games or rely on outdated dating rules. She's secure in herself. She's not afraid of rejection, and that makes her powerful. She respects both her time and his. She'd rather act than wait. She's likely self-aware. Confidence often comes from a strong sense of identity. When a man encounters this kind of energy, it forces him to evaluate his own. He starts asking himself, am I confident enough to match this? That subtle pressure can be a good thing. It can inspire him to show up more fully, more intentionally. In a way, your confidence sets the tone for the interaction. You don't just reach out, you invite him into a space where authenticity is welcomed and games are unnecessary. Men and the fear of rejection. It's worth noting that many men are more insecure than they appear. They've been rejected, ghosted, or misread so many signals that they sometimes second-guess themselves before making a move. So when a confident woman takes initiative, it eases that burden. It gives him permission to stop wondering if his interest is reciprocated. It opens a door he may have been too hesitant to knock on. Your confidence can be the difference between a missed connection and a meaningful one. Confidence sets you apart. Let's be honest, in today's dating landscape, standing out is hard. Many interactions feel transactional, filtered, and surface level. So when a woman comes along who knows her value, communicates clearly, and doesn't shy away from taking the lead, she immediately rises above the noise. Men remember women who make them feel something real. And confidence is one of the most memorable feelings of all. It doesn't beg for attention, it commands it. This doesn't mean being aggressive or overbearing. True confidence is quiet, calm, and unapologetically honest. It's found in the way you speak your truth without needing to convince anyone of it. It's visible when you're okay with someone not liking you, because you're not living to please. That energy lingers. It makes a man wonder not just about what you want, but who you are. The aftermath, he steps up. When a man receives a message from a confident woman, his next move is telling. If he's grounded and emotionally available, your confidence will inspire him to engage with the same energy. He'll respond with interest, initiative, and curiosity. He'll want to meet you where you are. But if he's unsure of himself, emotionally unavailable, or looking to play games, your confidence might intimidate him. And that's not a bad thing, it simply means he's not aligned with what you bring to the table. Your confidence becomes a filter. The right man will feel drawn in. The wrong one will fall away. When you text first, you do more than start a conversation, you reveal something about yourself. You show that you're not afraid to move, to speak, to connect. And in a dating culture full of hesitation, that makes you powerful. To the right man, that first message isn't just bold, it's beautiful. It's not just a hello, it's an invitation to something real. And what he's thinking, whether he says it or not, is this: she's confident, and I like that. If you are still watching the video, do not hesitate to comment continue. Leave your thoughts and questions below in the comment section. I look forward to hearing your opinions, and do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel so that Sophia has more motivation to create more good and meaningful videos. Let's continue together. Number 3. She's not like other girls. What sets her apart when she texts first? When a woman sends the first message, she immediately breaks a pattern that most men are used to. Whether consciously or not, many men operate within a framework of dating where they're expected to initiate. They're conditioned to make the first move, chase, and guess whether their feelings are reciprocated. So when a woman steps out of that mold and reaches out first, the reaction from a man can be surprisingly profound. One of the most common internal responses is simple, yet powerful: she's not like other girls. But what does that really mean? The psychology behind the phrase. Let's start by clarifying something. When a man thinks she's not like other girls, he's usually not putting other women down. What he's really doing is identifying a break in his usual dating script. He's noticing that you're different from what he's grown accustomed to, and in the dating world, difference gets attention. Men meet a lot of people who play it safe, who follow the rules, who wait. But when someone breaks that rhythm, it creates a moment of pause. A spark of curiosity. It makes him think. And thinking is where emotional connection begins. Why men notice the difference. In a sea of dating advice telling women to never text first, let him chase, or always play hard to get, a woman who leads with authenticity and confidence stands out. Not because she's being loud or dramatic, but because she's not afraid to act in alignment with what she feels. To many men, that feels rare. It feels different. She didn't wait 3 days to reply. She didn't drop hints and hope he picked them up. She chose action over subtlety. And that kind of clarity is deeply attractive in a world where most people are afraid to go first. When a man notices that you're not like the others, what he's really seeing is someone who isn't afraid to own her presence. The subtle power of unpredictability. Men, like most people, are pattern-driven. We tend to recognize and categorize behaviors quickly. We notice similarities and make assumptions. So when you act outside of the expected narrative, it disrupts that process. It's the same reason people turn their heads when someone enters a room with a slightly different energy, one that feels grounded, unbothered, and real. That unpredictability isn't chaos, it's intrigue. It keeps him interested. It makes him want to know more. Because deep down, people aren't just looking for attraction. They're looking for uniqueness. For something, and someone, that feels different. Being not like other girls isn't about comparison. This phrase often gets misunderstood. It's not about being better than other women. It's about being true to yourself, especially in moments when most people would conform. You don't have to be the loudest in the room. You don't have to have a wild personality or an extraordinary story. What sets you apart is your ability to act from a place of self-trust rather than fear. When you text him first, not because you're chasing validation but because you genuinely want to connect, it tells him you're secure enough to show interest without needing immediate reassurance. You're not trying to follow a dating script, you're creating your own. You have emotional maturity and aren't playing games. That's the kind of difference that resonates. That's the kind of woman he remembers. What he starts to wonder. Once he realizes you're not like the others, his curiosity deepens. He might not say it out loud, but inside, he starts asking questions. What's her story? Why does she feel so comfortable doing what most don't? What else about her breaks the mold? You become more than just someone he's talking to, you become a mystery worth exploring. And in a world of shallow swipes and fleeting conversations, depth is the ultimate advantage. How the right man responds. A man who is grounded and emotionally available won't be intimidated by your boldness. He'll be drawn to it. He may even feel challenged, in a good way. Because your confidence signals that he can't just go on autopilot with you. He has to show up. He has to be intentional. He has to rise to meet your energy. And if he's not ready to do that, then he likely isn't someone who would have respected your time, regardless of who messaged first. Your willingness to act differently reveals the kind of man he is, too. You become a mirror. Here's something powerful. When you act differently, you don't just change how he sees you, you also change how he sees himself. Maybe you inspire him to drop the act and be more real. Maybe you give him the confidence to stop waiting for permission to express what he really feels. Maybe, for the first time in a while, he feels seen. That's what happens when you're not like the others. You become a catalyst. In the end, it's about authenticity. Being different isn't about rebelling for the sake of rebellion. It's not about being better than other women. It's about being you, unfiltered, unafraid, and unapologetic. When a man sees that, it leaves a mark. So the next time you hesitate to reach out first, wondering if you'll seem too eager or too forward, remember this: you might just be giving him the rare experience of meeting someone who's not like the others. And that could be the beginning of something unforgettable. Number 4. Is she too easy to reach? When a man questions your intentions after you text first. When a woman texts a man first, the effect is often instant: interest, curiosity, maybe even excitement. But for some men, especially those who are cautious or have been burned before, a second thought creeps in. It usually sounds like this: is she too easy to reach? At first glance, this question might seem superficial, even unfair. But it's rooted in something deeper: how men interpret access, effort, and perceived value in the context of modern dating. Let's break that down. Why some men equate availability with value. Many men are taught, subtly or directly, that what's scarce is valuable. That what takes effort to attain must be worth more. It's a mindset shaped not only by dating culture but by broader social conditioning. In relationships, this sometimes leads men to associate challenge with attraction. If someone is too easy to get, the thinking goes, maybe she's not worth having. Maybe she's not selective. Maybe she's like that with everyone. This thought isn't always fair, and it's rarely accurate. But it exists. Especially among men who are used to chasing, or who are unsure of their own value in the dating world. When a woman texts first, it bypasses the traditional challenge. It removes the chase. And for some men, that can feel unfamiliar, even unsettling. Availability doesn't mean desperation. Here's the key distinction that mature men eventually learn: being available is not the same as being desperate. A woman who reaches out isn't necessarily too easy, she's clear. She's confident. She's capable of showing interest without needing to play games. The real question isn't why she texted first. The real question is how she presents herself afterward. Does she maintain her boundaries? Does she continue to communicate from a place of self-respect? Is she showing interest, or is she seeking validation? These things matter far more than the act of sending the first message. But some men, especially those with limited emotional intelligence, may not know how to tell the difference. The fear beneath the question. When a man wonders if you're too easy to reach, it's often not about you at all. It's about him. It's about his fear of being one of many. Of being played. Of being used for attention, validation, or convenience. In a dating world full of casual conversations and fleeting interactions, men are often just as guarded as women, they just show it differently. Your initiative might trigger a defense mechanism in him. He might think, why is she so available? What's the catch? But deep down, what he's really asking is, can I trust this? He's not always questioning your value. He's questioning the situation. How emotionally mature men see it. Now here's the flip side: a man who's emotionally grounded and self-aware won't assume that your availability makes you less valuable. He won't jump to the conclusion that you must be easy just because you made the first move. Instead, he'll see your message as a sign of clarity and confidence. To him, it won't be about control or status, it'll be about connection. He'll understand that in a healthy dynamic, both people should feel free to initiate. That mutual effort is a strength, not a weakness. And he'll be curious about you, not suspicious. He'll want to know why you reached out. What made you interested? Who you are beyond the text. That's how men who are ready for something real respond. What you can do with his reaction. If a man questions your intentions after you text first, or seems to treat your effort like a red flag, you don't need to chase clarity or explain yourself. Instead, observe, does he engage with you respectfully? Does he seem open, or guarded? Does he assume you're too eager, or does he ask what you're looking for? His reaction will tell you everything you need to know about his emotional maturity. A man who's ready won't penalize you for taking initiative. He'll match it. He'll appreciate it. And he'll want to build something based on mutual desire, not power plays. Being easy to reach is not a flaw. Let's reframe the idea entirely. Being easy to reach is a strength when it comes from a place of self-worth. You can be warm and still have standards. You can be responsive without being clingy. You can initiate a connection without losing your value. The truth is, emotionally secure women are often misunderstood in a world that confuses availability with desperation. But the ones who stay rooted in who they are always stand out. Because real confidence isn't in how hard you are to get, it's in how authentically you show up. The bottom line. When you text a man first, some might wonder if you're too easy to reach. That's not a reflection of your worth, it's a reflection of their mindset. A man who's ready for connection will see your effort for what it is, an invitation, not a surrender. He won't devalue you because you reached out. He'll recognize the strength it takes to be open in a world full of fear. And when the right one sees that you're easy to reach, not because you're desperate, but because you're real, he won't question it. He'll value it. Because ultimately, the best connections aren't built on mystery. They're built on mutual courage. Number 5. She makes me feel needed. The underrated power of reaching out first. When a woman texts a man first, it may seem like a small gesture. Just a few words on a screen. But to the right man, it means much more than that. Because in that moment, whether she realizes it or not, she's sending a powerful message: I want to connect with you. You matter. You are someone I thought of first. And for many men, that simple message strikes a deep chord: she makes me feel needed. The quiet longing most men won't admit. Here's something many men won't say out loud: they want to feel needed. Not just desired, not just respected, but genuinely needed. And not in a way that feeds the ego, but in a way that makes them feel emotionally significant. In a world where men are often expected to be the pursuers, the protectors, the strong and silent ones, feeling emotionally important can be rare. Many are conditioned to suppress their need for connection. They're told to chase, not to wait for affection. They're taught to initiate, not to receive. So when a woman flips that script and sends the first message, it's more than refreshing, it's deeply affirming. It says, you don't have to do all the work. I see you. I choose you. That experience is rare. And it stays with him. Why feeling needed matters to a man. At the core of male psychology is a quiet, sometimes hidden desire to matter to someone. Not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. When a woman reaches out first, it taps into that desire in a powerful way. It tells him, you're not invisible. You're not just another option. You have a place in someone's thoughts. And while that might sound simple, it can be surprisingly rare in today's dating culture, where everyone is playing it cool, holding back, and waiting to see who will blink first. The woman who doesn't wait, the one who sends the first message, becomes a soft landing in a hard world. Masculinity and the need to be wanted. Many men carry the unspoken burden of having to always be the one to pursue. They're told that showing vulnerability, or even admitting that they want to be wanted, is weak. But here's the truth, men want to feel chosen, too. They want to feel like you wanted them, not just that you responded to them. That's why when you text him first, especially without an agenda or a performance, it can shift something inside him. It makes him feel appreciated. It makes him feel wanted, not just useful. It awakens something ancient and emotional, the feeling that he's not just playing a part, but that who he is actually matters to someone. The difference between needing and clinging. It's important to note, feeling needed is not the same as feeling smothered. Healthy men don't want someone who is overly dependent on them. But they do want to feel like they bring something meaningful to your life. Like their presence, their voice, their energy matters. When you message him first, and you do it with warmth and genuine intent, what you're communicating, what this reveals about you. When you make the first move, you don't just show interest. You show emotional generosity. You reveal that you're not afraid to express what you want. You're not waiting to be pursued out of insecurity or pride. You're already whole, and you're willing to open that wholeness to someone else. Men can sense this. Whether consciously or not, they recognize when a woman isn't playing games. And when they feel needed in that calm, confident way, it shifts the dynamic. Suddenly, they're not chasing, they're engaging. Suddenly, they're not questioning, they're connecting. You become memorable. In a world where so many interactions are filtered, curated, and cautious, a woman who makes a man feel needed, without needing him to complete her, is unforgettable. She's not desperate. She's not overcompensating. She's simply clear about what she values. And when a man feels like he's part of that value system, not just tolerated, but wanted, it anchors him. It gives him a reason to stay curious, to show up, to give back. Because in the end, men don't fall for perfection. They fall for connection. And that connection often begins with something as simple and powerful as you reaching out first and making him feel needed. Number 6. How should I respond without messing this up? When a man feels the pressure after you text first. It might sound surprising, but when a woman texts a man first, she's not the only one feeling vulnerable. He is too. That first message, simple as it might seem, often hits harder than expected. Especially if it comes from someone he's genuinely interested in. In that moment, something real enters the space between you. And suddenly, he finds himself thinking, what do I say next? And more importantly, how do I respond without ruining this? Yes, men worry about saying the wrong thing. While women are often portrayed as the more emotionally sensitive side in early dating, many men are quietly fighting their own internal pressure. For a man who doesn't want to mess things up, your first message can create both excitement and anxiety. Not because he doesn't like you, but because he does. He wants to get it right. He knows you didn't have to reach out. You made a choice. And if he values that, he's going to pause and ask himself, how do I show her I appreciate this? Without overdoing it. Without seeming too eager. Without pushing her away. And suddenly, he's editing himself. Rewriting that text. Second-guessing the emoji. Reading it back 3 times. It's a quiet kind of pressure. But it's very real. When he feels the shift in power. Whether we acknowledge it or not, the early moments of dating often feel like a delicate balance of power. Who cares more? Who's chasing? Who's responding faster? So when you reach out first, it shifts that balance. It tells him you're not just passively waiting. You're choosing. And he becomes aware, maybe for the first time, that he's the one being pursued, even if just a little. That can be flattering. But it also adds weight to his next move. Because if he's emotionally invested, or hopes to be, he's no longer operating in casual mode. He realizes he can't just throw out a lazy hey and hope for the best. He wants to be thoughtful. Maybe even impressive. And ironically, that pressure can make him freeze up. The internal dialogue, don't blow it. Inside his mind, it might sound something like this: I want to sound cool but not cold. Should I be funny? Or sincere? If I reply too fast, will I look desperate? If I wait too long, will she lose interest? These thoughts might not seem like a big deal. But for a man who sees potential in you, they can make even the simplest reply feel high stakes. He's not afraid of you. He's afraid of the opportunity you represent. The opportunity to connect with someone real. And if he's been hurt before, or has a habit of overthinking, he's going to want to protect that opportunity at all costs. The vulnerability you created. Here's something most women don't realize: your first message doesn't just break the ice, it breaks his guard. Men are used to being the initiators. They're used to putting themselves out there and hoping for a response. When that dynamic reverses, it opens a new emotional door. One where he feels chosen, and therefore, seen. That feeling of being seen creates vulnerability. And with vulnerability comes fear. Fear of misreading the moment. Fear of saying too much. Fear of not being enough. So he hesitates. Not because he's playing games, but because he's trying not to mess up something that already feels rare. What he really wants to do. Deep down, he wants to respond with something that reflects his genuine interest. He wants to be real, maybe even a little bold. But fear gets in the way. He doesn't want to scare you off. He doesn't want to look too available. So sometimes, he pulls back, even when he wants to lean in. That's why you might get a delayed reply, or something that feels more surface level than you expected. Not because he's not interested, but because he's protecting himself, or trying to decode what pace you want to set. How men learn to respond well. The men who get it right. Who mature past the need for posturing, respond in a way that balances two key things, interest and presence. Interest, because they want you to know they're here for a reason. Presence, because they're confident enough not to play games. He might say something playful, but grounded. He might compliment you, genuinely, not excessively. He might ask a follow-up question to keep the energy going. The key is, he stays engaged. Even if he doesn't know exactly what to say, he shows up in a way that feels honest. And that's the energy that builds connection. What you can learn from his response. His reply tells you more than just his texting style. It tells you how he handles pressure. How he responds to vulnerability. Whether he matches effort or avoids it. If he leans in, even a little awkwardly, it means he's willing to participate in the moment. If he pulls away, goes cold, or turns it into a joke, it could mean he's not ready. Or not used to being on the receiving end of genuine interest. Either way, your initiative becomes a mirror. You'll see who he is, and who he's capable of being. Final thoughts, your message was a gift. When you text first, you give him something rare, clarity. You let him know he matters. Number 7. Is she testing my reaction? When a man questions the intent behind your first message. When a woman texts first, some men receive it as a clear and sincere expression of interest. But others pause, overthink, and ask themselves a different kind of question, is she testing me? It might seem like an odd conclusion. Why would a woman take time to send a message just to gauge a reaction? But in the world of modern dating, where mixed signals, emotional unavailability, and game playing are all too common, this question isn't as rare as you'd think. In fact, for some men, it's a default defense mechanism. A way to manage uncertainty. A way to protect themselves from misinterpreting vulnerability as something more than it is. So why do some men assume you're testing them when you reach out first? Let's break it down. The dating culture that made him wary. We live in a time where genuine connection often hides behind layers of strategy. People ghost, breadcrumb, flirt for attention, and even initiate conversations just to validate their ego. Many men have experienced this firsthand. They've had women text first, only to disappear after a few responses. Or flirt just enough to keep their interest alive, while having no real intention of moving anything forward. Some have been used as emotional safety nets, someone to talk to when she's bored or lonely, but not someone she sees long-term value in. So, when you message him first, and he feels a flicker of hope, his mind doesn't always say, wow, she's into me. Sometimes, it says, wait, is this real? And that doubt can quickly turn into suspicion. The subtle psychology of the test theory. For many men, the idea of being tested ties into a deeper fear, the fear of being manipulated. They wonder if your message is genuine curiosity, or a way to observe how they'll respond. Will they seem too eager? Too dry? Too emotionally invested? They might feel like they're being evaluated more than engaged. He might think, is she just bored and wants attention? Is this a power move to see how I'll act under pressure? Is she trying to find out if I'm easy to impress? To you, this might sound like overthinking, and often it is, but it comes from a place of emotional self-protection. Especially for men who've had their intentions misjudged or their interest exploited. Your initiative triggers his awareness. When you take initiative, you signal something unusual in the modern dating landscape: clarity. And clarity often makes people pause. Why? Because they're not used to it. Especially from women. Most men are taught to pursue, to initiate, to make the first move. When a woman flips that dynamic, it forces him into unfamiliar territory. He's no longer in control of the pace or tone, at least not entirely. That shift can feel exciting, but also slightly unnerving. And in that uncertainty, he may ask himself, is this part of a game? Because in a dating world full of masks, real intent often feels like a trick. Testing and emotional strategy, two very different things. Let's be clear, there is a difference between testing someone and being intentional with your energy. A woman who tests a man might send a message just to see if he's emotionally reactive, needy, or too available. She might be probing for weaknesses. Playing power games. But a woman who texts with clarity, who communicates because she wants to, not because she's trying to control the response, isn't testing. She's just being open. The challenge is that some men can't tell the difference, at least not at first. That's why a confident, secure woman often confuses emotionally guarded men. Her directness feels like a setup, because they're used to people hiding their real motives. What kind of man asks this question? A man who wonders if you're testing him isn't necessarily insecure. But he is cautious. Maybe he's been misled before. Maybe he's had to learn the hard way that not every text is an invitation to something meaningful. But here's the truth, the right man won't let that question dominate his thinking. He may wonder briefly, but he'll stay present. He'll evaluate you based on how you engage, not just the fact that you initiated. He'll ask himself, does she seem consistent? Is she curious, or just fishing for validation? Is she open, or just probing? And if he senses authenticity in your tone, timing, and intention, he'll relax. He'll stop wondering if it's a test, and start focusing on building something real. What you're really doing when you text first. Whether he knows it or not, you're not testing him. You're giving him an opportunity to respond with interest, to meet your energy, to take things somewhere deeper. And if he treats that opportunity like a game, or hesitates out of fear, that's not a reflection of your value. That's a reflection of where he is emotionally. A grounded man doesn't view initiative as manipulation. He sees it as maturity. Final thoughts, his reaction reveals his readiness. When you message him first and he wonders whether it's a test, that inner dialogue tells you a lot. Not just about how he sees you, but how he handles vulnerability. If he's open-minded, emotionally aware, and ready for connection, he'll lean in. He'll welcome the energy you bring. He won't get caught up in overthinking your motive, he'll simply appreciate the moment for what it is. But if he's still stuck in old patterns of distrust and gamesmanship, he might hold back. Either way, your message becomes more than a hello. It becomes a mirror, showing him how he processes emotional risk. And showing you who he really is. Conclusion. When a woman takes the initiative to send that first message, it might seem like a small act, but in the mind of a man, it often triggers a cascade of thoughts, questions, and emotions. He might wonder if you like him. He might admire your confidence. He could even compare you to others, or question if this moment is too good to be true. Some part of him might feel validated, needed, wanted, and another part may wrestle with the pressure of responding just right. For others, your message becomes a test of their own emotional readiness. Can I meet her clarity without falling into old fears? But beyond all of that, what you're really doing is breaking the pattern. You're showing him that connection isn't just something he has to chase, it's something that can be mutual, intentional, and real. In a world full of hesitation and unread messages, your first text says something powerful: I'm not afraid to show up. And how he responds reveals just as much about him as your message reveals about you. So, whether it leads to a meaningful conversation, a spark that turns into something more, or simply a brief encounter with honesty, it matters. Because in today's dating world, courage stands out. And sometimes, the bravest thing a woman can do is simply say hi first, and let the rest unfold from there. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. I hope you found some useful lessons about love and relationships. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. I appreciate your support and will continue to bring valuable content in future videos. Please continue to join me on my journey to learn about love and relationships. See you soon, and I wish you happiness.